Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MTG Study Hall Quarantine Edition. I am one of your hosts, Brett, and I am joined, as always, by Dave, Lily, and JC. We have a lot to talk about this week. I say that every time, but I guess we always have a lot to talk about, so it's accurate. Before we get there, Tam has some bookkeeping. Tam, you want to take care of that for us?
Absolutely. So if you guys like the show and you want to go out and support us, please go to patreon.com/TCG University. Sub out there. Any of those levels, you'll get the podcast live as well as ad-free, just like all of these awesome people. We've got Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albino, Bryce Rathsack, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Jesse Morrison, John Stone, Justin Farce, Justin Hobbs, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Kieran Vision, Lucinda Letica, Okemama, Paul Casagrande, Ransom, MacArthur, Peyton Kiker, Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, Sean O'Brien, Teodoro Ruiz, and Tyler Zempes. Thank you guys so much for going out and supporting the show. If you don't have any bucks to toss, that is totally chill. You can go out and catch all of the free content out on youtube.com/TCG University, as well as daily interaction out on Facebook and live stuff on Twitch, all at TCG University. And lastly, big shout outs to our sponsors, Nuclear Inked Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop, Cards Custom Build, Inked Gaming, and Dex Protection. But we will talk about those a little bit later. Back to the show.
Thank you so much, Tam. So, before we launch into everything, let's talk about what we've done in Magic this past week. JC, you go first.
Actually, just kind of keeping up on news. It's been kind of newsworthy, and looking at some of the stuff from Core 21, and that kind of thing. So that's me.
Fair enough. All righty, Lily, what have you been up to?
I filled out my mastery tree right at the end for Aquaria's standard season on Arena, so that's cool. And somebody still hasn't
commented on your stuff.
Yeah. I have been thinking though about the commander decks we're working on.
That's fair.
I have some thoughts. I have not cool. just. I have some actual thoughts. So I'd
like to get direction on the much bigger project.
I know it. I've had many things to read and watch, but I will get on it. He says, I think a month now straight. So
at least the fifth time.
A fifth time. Okay. Sixth week's the charm. That's what they always say. Anything else, Lily?
No.
Dave, anything? What's been going on?
Yeah, I've mostly either put the Pauper to Peasant stuff on hiatus in favor of playing my actual account, because I think the gameplay is going to be way more interesting than bashing my skull against the wall with the same lure stack over and over. And just playing Wilderness Reclamation, like, in many different ways, as well as Doom Foretold. So getting a bit more variation with Standard instead of the same underpowered constructed deck, so to speak. So.
Are you doing Wilderness Rec and Doom Foretold in the same deck?
No, absolutely not. That sounds
okay.
That sounds more masochistic than I'm okay with. I hate myself just not enough to play both of those enchantments in the same deck. One at a time. One at a time. Okay, that seems reasonable. Yeah. Well, fair enough. And as for me, I didn't do Brawling with Brett yesterday, and the reason that is we had a Twitch blackout day, so to protest quite a few things. Lily linked me the thing, but basically to protest all sorts of toxic shit that happens on Twitch. The idea was that everyone unplugged from Twitch and that we won't make any content.
Essentially, it was just Twitch's lack of impetus as a platform to do anything about harassment to or from streamers.
So I did my very small part and didn't put out any Brawling with Brett. And also I won't be probably Brawling with Brett next weekend because I have to see a man about a dog. I might be going to pick out a puppy on next Wednesday. So
I want to see the puppy so bad. Why is it a plague?
Oh, man.
Enjoy one of the benefits of home ownership there, Brett. The doggos.
I know it. I'm excited. I am getting more. It was finally like, okay, we have to do this. I've been telling Kat and Ray we could do this forever. But now that it's like here and almost there, and I've seen pictures of a dog that might be mine, I'm actually getting kind of excited. So, sorry. Although I haven't done a ton of Magic stuff. I also been playing Last of Us 2, so I was going to play more of the Arena Cube, and I didn't. And I'm a little sad, but I'm sure it'll be back, and I have a lot of M21 stuff available, and I've got paper cards that I get to pick up tomorrow. So I will have more Magic stuff next week. But that's enough about me. Let's get moving on to our topic. So we realized that we have been, or it was pointed out that we've been kind of just using the player psychographics without giving much explanation or any explanation to those. So we wanted to take some time to go over the Mark Rosewater's player psychographics. Before we do that, though, a lot has happened news-wise, and we wanted to make sure we brought that all up. So, who wants to start filling everybody in on what's happened this past week? Because it's been a bunch.
Suppose I can begin. There's a couple things. So Wizards ended their professional relationship with Therese Nielsen. She is a magic artist that has been doing art for a long time over some of her controversial stances and such, to put it that way. And also they have ended their relationship with Noah Bradley for a lot of rampant allegations of courting and inappropriate behavior toward women. To put it, yeah.
Yeah, there was so the Therese
her statement in chat, the non-apology from like months ago.
Which one, Lily?
Therese Nielsen's non-apology from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Therese Nielsen.
I have an opinion about this. I'm sure you can suss it out.
What do you want to go ahead?
Oh no, I mean, that was it. It's not a deep opinion. It's just. But it's just very transparent.
Very, very briefly, at Therese Nielsen, people, and this is not super new news for a lot of it, where she was found, someone went through all of her Twitter stuff and found some very concerning likes for, her stuff is just like pro-turf stuff, and then,
QAnon.
So the big stuff was the QAnon stuff and the, like, a lot of, like, far-right conspiracy shit besides QAnon, which is all sort of wrapped up in it because QAnon is like the motherlode of right-wing conspiracy theories.
Yes, you can just call it the conspiracy. It is just conspiracy bedrock. For those of you that aren't familiar with QAnon, the short version is Donald Trump is playing 5D chess with JFK Jr. to stop an underground pedophilia ring and the deep state. And any conspiracy theory in the last 50 years, you can somehow weasel into QAnon. If you want a better description, there's a podcast called QAnon Anonymous. It is fantastic. I'm a regular listener. Check it out.
And just to be clear, and it's not a pro QAnon podcast. It's one that
it is not a pro QAnon. No, they go over a bunch of other stuff, like Operation Climax is what they did their live show on. I think that might be one of their premium episodes. They are fantastic. They've had like Frederick Brennan on there too to say his piece after he had his escape from the Philippines, which is the best way to describe what happened, where he had to flee the Philippines because of a cyber libel lawsuit based off of 8chan's current owner, Jim Watkins. It's very interesting stuff. Check it out if you want more of it. We fucking derailed from that. Sorry, guys. But,
I think it's important just so people who might not have an idea. What I've heard people say, what somebody likes on social media, should that affect their job like this? But when you can pull up art of Therese Nielsen likes somebody talking about an anti-Semitic plot against the country, that's a problem.
Yeah, if someone's buying into the blood libel, I think that's a point where you need to raise your hand and ask them, why are you perpetuating this? Why is this a thing that you believe? You know adrenochrome isn't a thing that can possibly get you high. That's not a real thing. That's something Hunter S. Thompson made up. Like it should be a big red flag for the most part. I think I think a lot of folks kind of get tricked into that, and the second that you start explaining some of these beliefs to them, then they go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh shit, I need to stay away from these folks. Yeah, like they kind of subtly get you into it, and then after like getting deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, then they start, that's where the whole red pill thing goes. Okay, you're ready to know. Here's what we actually believe, and for the most part, you kind of get indoctrinated into it. It's like a frog being in a pot, and you slowly turn up. Yeah, it's the slow boil. Like you're now a frog, and the water is boiling, and it's too late to get out. So the short version is, if you see any of your friends or family start gravitating towards QAnon, pull them aside and say, hey, these people are fucking crazy, right? And just explain that to them, and hopefully that kind of diffuses it to the point where, oh, yeah, thanks for letting me know about that. I didn't know about that. I think there's certain people that it might be too far gone. So I mean, these are all very good reasons why I think Wizards
has distanced themselves. And then, Noah Bradley, I had not been aware of this. I was a fan of Noah. He was very active on Reddit, and I was a big fan of his art. I'm really glad I didn't spend $200 on a History of Benalia art print, which I almost did a few times, and I would probably have done it had this not happened, but some allegations came out. He issued an apology, and then after he issued an apology about his unacceptable behavior, people dug up some old posts of his about these, what were the rules of power? Which was it's some like old book, like self-help book from the 90s, and it's this psychopathic belief system of how to manipulate and control people. And some of these rules
very like pickup artists, kind of stuff.
But for like your whole life.
But he did post an apology on Twitter. It's pinned to his Twitter if you are interested in reading it.
And the thing that's interesting is if you do read it, I do recommend you go look at the rules of power that he talked about being so awesome and had done graphic design stuff and had said he had scrolling on his desktop background a few years back, because some of these rules are like preserve your image, retreat, do all these things. So basically, maybe his apology was heartfelt, or maybe it was of just following these tactics to preserve his image. We can't know that, but when you espouse a belief in a system that talks about manipulating people, you have completely destroyed all of your credibility when you go for an apology. I apologize. I hope that he's truly heartfelt and is willing to turn his life around. Regardless, I'm very happy that Wizards has terminated their relationship with him. Now, with both artists, we're going to get some art coming out because the process takes a long time, but they will be no longer working with either artist, or after the things that are already set and unchangeable will no longer be reprinting cards with their art on them.
Which means new art for classic cards. But so one other thing about it, like when you have done awful things to people, even if you have turned a new leaf, even if you have apologized, like part of that is acknowledging that the people who you've done harm don't have any obligation to forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, that's not their fault.
And there's, I mean, and I think I've certainly seen people like, I'm generally on the side of, it's a good idea to cut ties as a company for Wizards. And even if you want to, even if you personally don't want to be a part of like, oh, I don't want, Wizards is doing this in a reactionary mode. If you just look at it from the cold hard cash, it's not good business. Doing business with people who do shit like this, it's not good business. So you can look at it from the moral side of things. You can look at it from a cold, gross capitalist side of things. Regardless, it's not good business to work with these people. And it was the right choice in multiple ways to cut ties. And I'm happy to see Wizards doing it. Be it for the right reason or the wrong reason, I'm happy to see it happening.
Agreed.
And Dave, I know we were talking a little bit in the pre-show. We're talking about how some people have said that this seems to be coming off as reactionary. I don't know if you wanted to talk. If there's anything you wanted to say.
From what it sounds like, obviously we had the spark as the open letter that you had shared a couple weeks ago, and that called out WotC on their bad hiring practices, among other problematic things within the culture of their company. And so far, we see that WotC's response to that has been, oh, we didn't know that Invoke Prejudice was 1488. Holy shit, this card's still legal. It's banned now, and here's some other things banned, and we will ban things in the future. Like, okay, well, that's a good first step. And then it almost sounds like perhaps, and I don't think with Noah, I think that Noah, they made the absolute right call. Oh, you've been grooming people. Yeah, you don't work with us anymore. We're going to have your name stricken from every post and obelisk. But for Therese Nelson, it almost sounds like, it's probably going to score some points if we just don't renew her contract. It feels like there might have been something along those lines. I don't know how they do it. It may just be that everybody's straight up freelance and there isn't any sort of like, you need to give us X amount of art pieces for, Y sets or something. It's possible. That's speculation on my part. But it feels like it's one of those, we weren't using her anyway. This just scores us some points if we call her out. It doesn't do anything to address the issues they had with their hiring practices or the other shitty behavior that they've been explicitly called out on.
With artists like her, they contract them out for certain tasks and certain sets, and they will just not be contracting her for anything further.
Yeah, I think it's pretty piecemeal, but even I
think Lily has something.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please. I suspect with Therese Nielsen that they had planned to not continue working with her for a while now, and had been trailing that off. I think for at least since whenever Modern Horizons got done out of the oven, from a design standpoint.
I wouldn't be shocked.
That's the last one we had new art from her.
And I wouldn't be and there was the San Diego, the Planeswalker, stained glass ones. Those were probably in that similar time frame. Now, I'm willing to say that maybe this is Wizards. I don't know this reason why they chose to do this and now. I think it is the right choice, even if it was put pressure on, or even if they're doing it to some kind of point scoring. Like, it should have happened before this. We shouldn't have had to hit this tipping point. We shouldn't have had to call out their hiring practice, certainly. And I think something we said when we've discussed this previously is like, okay, I don't think this is a bad step, but as step is the operative word here.
Right.
Let's see some big stuff. Okay, you're getting rid of this art. You're cutting ties with toxic people. Okay, good. Let's see some actual change.
Well, and a couple of things on that point, right? So, one, having a more diverse crew of people in your company from different walks of life, from different experiences, will naturally lend your organization towards making decisions that are not awful. I mean, it will, just by having these people with voices in your company. But two, this feels a ton like with all of the protests that have been going on, with like these concessions that have been made by like different government, like city and state governments, that are not addressing the problem that needs to be addressed, although they're addressing problems that are adjacent to it. It's like, great, but that's not what you need to do.
Yeah.
Or not all of it.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the only thing that I can say in response to that, like, I don't know if you saw the what happened in Colorado, that they've ended qualified immunity. So that's great. But the thing is, we're not done yet. We still have a lot more. What really needs to happen at this point is, for those that are still protesting, for those that want to see justice, you have to keep going. We have to keep walking. So long as we continue pushing these people to do the changes that need to happen, WotC, then we will inevitably end to what our endpoint should be. We will inevitably completely win. These concessions, I could see that. Consider them not so much concessions as they are victories. They're smaller victories, and we're going to get bigger ones. We just have to keep going.
But I believe a lot of this is coming from the perspective of trying to make little changes to appease people, to try to avoid having to make big changes that would actually be difficult.
And that's why we need, and I think that's why we need to keep talking about it and keep the pressure up. Because I should, like, being able to put out a couple of things. We're cutting ties with these people. Good. I want to be continually updated on what else you're doing as you do it with WotC. That's what I want to see. So I think that's what we're saying. I think we seem to be in agreement on that. Is that no one seems to have a problem with what happened. We just all want more.
Yes, and
I've been essaying you guys this whole time. Good catch, Lily. Way to be. One thing that I may kind of differ from everybody else on this one is: do you think that there is or should be a path to redemption for people like Therese Nilsson? Do you think there is some sort of action or series of actions that she can take to get back into the good graces? Like, I'm willing to say that I certainly have made mistakes. I've said some problematic shit. I've done some bad things in my life. I think we all have. And I think I've been lucky enough to either not be in the spotlight or get to a point where I have changed to a point where I no longer hold those shitty beliefs. Do you think the same can be said for Therese Nilsson?
Honestly, I think Therese Nilsson has it easier than someone like you or me. I'm sure I've said some terrible shit in my past too. I mean, she has a platform. She has a very big platform. She has a lot of followers. She is in a position to actually like say things and make changes and make donations and donate art to events and like actually do things. Like, honestly, I think that the path to redemption is like, you may not be redeemed ever by, the people who feel like you've been wronged by them, but like, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that is the thing there. Like, you don't get to decide that your apology is like this is exactly what Lily was saying earlier, that you don't, like, you can apologize. That doesn't, like, the person that you're apologizing to doesn't have to accept that apology.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's there, and I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something that could be done. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts.
I would say I think there's certainly personal redemption. I would hope that that when this stuff comes out and people, be they actors, comedians, artists, people are in the spotlight, are choose to or are forced to make apologies or are removed from places. I hope there's certainly personal redemption. I hope there's self-reflection and an actual understanding or an attempt to understand the damage they've done and an attempt to make amends. So I would hope in a personal place that people in her life, if she wants to make amends, might be willing to give her a second chance. But I don't know if I think there might be redemption, but I don't think we have to say, come back, you're going to be a beloved magic artist again. Like, I think there are bridges you can burn, and it might say, like you're an actor, okay, but maybe you're not in movies anymore. Like, you obviously get to keep living your life, and if you can try and turn your life to a force of good, or the very goddamn bare minimum, do not do any more damage, okay? But just because it's like, okay, you're working towards redemption, that doesn't mean you get to come back. It doesn't mean you get to be loved, and it doesn't mean you get to come back and make art and be in the spotlight anymore.
Yeah, I got you there. Like, you're never getting that stink off of you. I'm never not going to be a thief. That's just how it works. Like, it does not matter what actions I take. I cannot undo the past. And I guess that'd be the same thing with Therese Nelson, right?
And the other thing is too, like, the only apology that could ever matter is change behavior.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with, like I said, with Noah's apologies. Noah's apology was much more of a real apology than Therese Nielsen's was. But there's obviously things coloring Noah's apology, and I think
the stuff Noah did was way worse.
No, yeah, everything from what I understand. Go ahead,
He's just the thing I have about Noah is, like, it's really hard. It is a heartfelt apology. I do feel it that way, but, like, you kind of apologize after you were called out, like, and this has been happening for a long time, man.
No, and it seems there are some basically, some chats were hitting big on Twitter, and then the apology happened, and it's hard, and, like, that's the thing. It's like it's not me, Mr. Cis White Guy's job to go, okay, that person's it's fair. I'll allow him back in. We can like Noah Bradley. It's not my place to do that. I haven't been harmed by Noah Bradley, and so, but
I don't think it's any one person's decision either.
But, like, for redemption, I hope there's personal redemption. But as for coming back into the community as a voice, that's where I say I don't know if that's possible, and I don't know if that's something I would support personally.
I mean, clout once dissipated does not come back.
I don't know. PewDiePie still has a ton of followers.
Yeah, but PewDiePie lost a lot of, like, the clout he has is not clout he regained; it's clout that remained.
Fair.
I mean, he's got his army of 11-year-olds.
Well, and all the fucking, like, racists and people that, like, flock to him because of that. I guess that's a kind of clout.
I feel like those are not the type of people that that you want to have the attention.
I mean, the algorithm doesn't care what kind of people.
Yeah, it just wants interaction. So, in other words, please check out the other videos that we've done.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about weekly.
Yeah, no,
all right,
moving on.
Are we good to move on? I do want to make sure everyone's gotten everything out on this one, because it's an important issue. I want to make sure everyone feels heard. So we good? I want to hit a couple brief news stories if we're all good.
Yeah.
I'm looking. Okay, so I normally spend a lot of time yelling about Wizards pissing me off. I said in the pre-show, I'll say it here, Wizards didn't piss me off this week. I like the action they took against both these artists we just discussed. On some less important but magic important news things, Brawl has been set free on Arena, which I've been yelling about for a long time, so that was thrilling. They basically straight up said that they were worried Brawl would negatively impact standard in their monetization. It hasn't, so it's going to be forward, and they literally used the phrase no takesies backsies. So we have Brawl, it counts for quests, it counts for daily wins. That's awesome. There was a lot of talk on the subreddits about rare and mythic duplicate protection because they reprinted the temple cycle in the core set, and a lot of people already have all those cards. So they are treating those very quickly, just like how they treat banned cards. So if you're opening packs of the new core set and you already have an amount of those temples or Fabled Passage, you will not open those cards. Once you have 4 of them, if you have 2 Fabled Passages from Eldraine, you can open up to 2 more from there. But once you have the play set of a card with the same art, then you will not open that card until you have every other card from the set collected.
did they specify that's only for rares and mythics, or do they intend to do that for commons, uncommons as well?
Just for rares and mythics.
Yeah, that would only count towards vault progression anyway. So
yeah, so you'll double up on rare commons and uncommons, but the thing that really matters is the rares and mythics, and so they did that, and they said we didn't respond to the talk because we wanted to make sure we could have this in place. We have it in place. That's why we're telling you this. So yeah, that was awesome. Jumpstart looks great. Wizards is not pissing me off this week. So go Wizards! You get a gold star week, Wizards. Keep it up. Shit,
I would need to do a seat at the rules committee.
Oh my god! Oh god! If you want me to be if you want to turn me into a Watsy shill, yeah, get rid of the rules committee. That's all I need. Okay, but so. Generally good news or positive news. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Those are the ones that I was the most excited about outside of political and social kind of issue stuff.
Well, I guess we could bring up as of the time that this is going to be aired, on YouTube, for those that are live, Arena currently has M21 on it. That's now correct. So I believe you were opening packs. Lily, you said you did a draft, right?
Yeah, I did poorly in a draft.
I mean, you have more draft experience with M21 than I do. What are your first thoughts on it? What are your opinions? What do you see? First impression
removal.
Sorry, one more time.
I went like solid white black from like pack 1, and maybe I was just being drafted out, but I just didn't like the best removal I ran into was frigging Faith's Fetters and the little dart thing, the artifact.
Okay.
Well, Face Fetters is really good removal, though.
It is really good removal, but like it's just weird. And normally, like there's like a bunch of like white and black cards that are like destroy a creature with converted mana cost 3 or less, or that kind of stuff at common. But I haven't really looked at the set, so maybe I was just missing it. But it seemed weird to me.
I wouldn't be surprised too when people don't know what to do. They default to bread, so I would not be shocked if people were just snap picking removal. That's probably what I'm going to do to try to figure out what the hell's going on in the format.
I was like trying to build a weird archetype that didn't do too bad, but
no, I'm at some point I want to throw this on the list. I want to talk about signpost uncommons and how they've been doing limited, but that's a whole other can of worms. But no, but I'll certainly be playing some limited, so we can definitely next week talk about. At the very least, what the new sets.
I would love to talk set designs, signposts, uncommons. I have a ton of things to say about them. So,
all right, I'll throw that on I'm going to write that down on the post-it note. One of the post-it notes. I got a lot of post-it notes.
The sheet of topics.
Topic post-it note that's running out of room.
I mean, you would know my signpost uncommons from my set if you looked at them.
I hear you.
Fight.
There's no fight. I'm in the wrong.
No, actually. That is misleading. That's one of the first things I designed and sent to you. There's a cycle of legendary uncommons.
Oh, okay, yeah, the legendaries. I remember. Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the actual main show topic. We are going to talk about player psychographics. So, many moons ago, I could have looked up a date. I didn't. Morrow came up with 3 psychographics that generally players will fit into one or multiples of. Who wants to start explaining what they are? So, they're Timmy Tammy. Initially, it was called Timmy. Since then, we talked about this on the pre-show. They have added an alternate gendered name for it. Timmy became Timmy and Tammy. Johnny is Johnny and Jenny, and then Spike has stayed gender neutral. So those are the 3 psychographics. What are they? What do they mean?
Well, I guess I'll take Timmy Tammy.
All right.
Tammy. That's the player that really likes the big stupid creatures and turn them sideways. Normally green. So when you're a kid and you look at Crawlworm and you go, man, Crawlworm is so cool. It's a 6/4. That beats almost
wonderful
everything.
Example, JC.
Or is that as a little bit up? As a comma? Little bit up.
North, JC. Camera up.
Get that? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there it is. God, look at that mana cost. You know it's fun, right? Look at this big dinosaur. I love it.
Worth mentioning, it's not just big creatures. It's big effects. It's powerful, swingy things. It's whenever you play a card and people are like, what? Like, they do that like it does what? Like that reaction? Like that red enchantment, the triple all damage one?
You could just say that red enchantment, because every set has some ridiculous...
3/4 of red enchantments are Johnny cards.
So we would we then would we add in something like Cruel Ultimatum as one of the Timmy type cards? So many words on it. So many things.
Ultimatums. Full stop.
Yep. And I was holding up like Massacre Girl. It's just a huge fun effect. I mean, I think Black has plenty of Timmy cards.
Yeah,
every color does is the thing.
And the tradition, absolutely right. That traditional. This is very much me. You start playing green's appealing because the cards are good. My card was Thorn Elemental. That was my white whale of, oh my gosh, look at this. Even if they block you still do 7 damage. Oh my gosh, how could you lose the game with a Thorn Elemental?
Was it not Plated Slagworm?
It became Plated Slagworm after you guys kept killing my Thorn Elemental. But initially, it was my 7th edition starter set foil Thorn Elemental. That hell of a Magic card.
So speaking of 7th edition, this is the best card was Final Fortune. How could I lose if I take another turn after this one? Surely I will get the answer.
Now keep that card in mind, everybody. Once we get to the next one. So
okay, I think that's a good question. Yeah, because we're gonna break these down in more detail. But I think that's a good overview. Big effects. So because I feel like we want to give all of the stuff and then we can break it down. That seemed like a good.
Yeah, let's use that as a segue, I suppose. So Final Fortune.
Before we dive too much further, I just want to preface something here. So psychographics are how you, the player, feel about and interpret cards that you see. They're how you playing the game interacts with you as your disposition as a player.
Okay, who wants to take? Who wants
to explain what a fucking psychographic is?
No, that's a good point. Yeah,
I would like to hear Dave's segue on Final Fortune. What do you have to say about one of my beloved cards, sir?
For those of you that don't know, Final Fortune is an instant double red. Take another turn after this one. And then you lose the game after that turn. So what
you lose on your terms?
They like setting up they like setting up the beautiful machine. They love doing that. So we can put Final Fortune on Isochron Scepter so we can cast it every single turn, but then we're going to lose the game after our extra turn, so maybe that's not that great, unless we have a Platinum Angel in play. And then we're just going to take all the turns for the rest of the game. And then we win, and we have our 3-piece combo that is overly convoluted and agitate our opponent. That's kind of a Johnny thing. You want to have the sweet combo. You want to have your 15-piece combo set up on that. Lily. So
while Timmy cares about how playing your cards makes you personally feel, Johnny cares about, or Jenny, I guess, have opinions.
Pre-show.
Right. Johnny cares about how playing your cards is an expression of something about you. So Timmy is I play this because I like it. Johnny is I play this because I made this.
And I think that's a good way to look at it. Timmy is oftentimes something by itself. This card does this thing. Jenny wants, the combo, these 3 cards, the deck. This is my creation. I am expressing myself via these cards, these pieces. So it's not this card or this effect. It's this and this and this, and this makes me feel good and engaged.
Which I would like to point out that you can kind of blend into multiples of these, because I easily do too. I like playing big dinosaurs because they're big dinosaurs and they make me feel good. I like playing feathered dinosaurs because wow, do I love feathered dinosaurs, and I love the history and learning about paleontology and stuff and how it actually was discovered that they actually had feathers and building that out and stuff like that. I mean, anyway.
But we're going to put a quick, so that is breaking on. So there's the 3-player psychographics that kind of overlap, and then there's a spectrum called the Melvin to Vorthos spectrum. We're just going to take that and we're going to set it aside. That's a whole other topic, possibly a whole other podcast.
But it does not interact with Timmy Johnny's mic.
Or it doesn't preclude any of them. Yeah, it is. Oh boy, there's
different axes.
People have been writing about this game and how you express yourself and interact with it through the game for decades now, literally decades. So I'm trying to think of. So I think Isochron Scepter, Final Fortune, Platinum Angel was a really good example. What are some other very Jenny kind of things one can do?
What we do is we play the turn. We go turn 1, Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb. We sack that Lotus Petal for a blue source and tap the Ancient Tomb, take 2, and we're going to play Show and Tell. And then the card that we're going to reveal off of our show and tell is going to be Dream Halls. Then we're going to discard a color card from our hand and cast Conflux to get 5 cards. Likely 3 more Confluxes and 2 Progenitus. And then we're going to cast a few Confluxes until we Cruel Ultimatum them 3 times and then play Burgarden Hellkite to win the game.
I mean, but I already won during your upkeep, flashing in Protean Hulk.
Ooh, calling Judge immediately. I want to point out that I've absolutely registered this deck program.
Anyway, so there's a lot of different one of the things that's important to Johnny is expressing yourself through the game, and with the game as modular as Magic is, there are so many ways to do that.
And go ahead.
Yeah, because forgive me if I'm wrong, but people who like think of ideas like, what if I build this deck with only creatures power 3 or less? Or what if I build this deck with like only this kind of land? Like those generally fall into the Johnny and Jenny stereotype.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair assessment, and I want to break down into it. And obviously the best part that we're leading up to is we need to talk about us and what we are. But to do that, we need to explain everything. So the final psychographic is Spike, and I can cover Spike if that's all right, or at least get the ball rolling.
Sure.
So Spike plays Magic to prove something. So the most traditional one is Spike plays to win, which is generally, I think, of accurate assessment. But Spike is trying to prove something, be it to others, be it to themselves, somebody who its Magic is a means to achieve something. And it might just be, I want to win this game. Spike might care about properly sequencing everything. Spike might not care about what cards they're playing. It's not that, oh, this effect is strong, it makes me feel good. Oh, I feel good about this deck. A lot of times, the Spike will take a deck that somebody else has made and use it. Spike is there to sequence things correctly, to make correct choices, to analyze what they've done. It's about how they interact with the game and what they can achieve and prove and demonstrate via the game.
Would you say they want to be the very best, like no one ever has? To catch them is their real test, and to train them.
I mean, I think there's a fair amount of it might not mean you can be a Spike and say, I want to be the best player ever. I want to win the Pro Tour. That's a pretty spiky goal. But you can also say, I want to get my win rate on Magic Arena to 55%. I want to get to platinum, and it's important for me. I don't care how I get to platinum. I want to get to platinum.
It's also Spike to say, I want to play this kind of deck. I'm going to make the best version of this kind of deck because I want to prove that it can be done.
And so that's a good point. So Spike is not just, oh, I took the net deck and I won it. Spike might make the very best cat deck to prove that I can beat you with just cats.
Right. Well, so it's funny you mentioned Final Fortune before, Dave, because to me, like when you were going for it, I didn't flag Final Fortune as a Johnny card. I flagged it as a Spike card.
I am a big fan of combos, and the Final Fantasy deck was a lot of fun.
I think Final Fortune is a card for all psychographics.
Right. And that's the thing, like a lot of cards can hit multiple notes. But while we're still on like the overview here, so I mean the short of it is Timmy is will to pleasure. Johnny is will to power, and Spike is will to meaning.
I like that. I think that's a good summary. Is that yours, or is that something you?
I mean, those are so. Will to the pleasure principle, will to pleasure. That's Freud. Will to power is Nietzsche, and I'm not sure where will to meaning is from. But they're like the primary impetus of actions.
What's a cigar?
It's a cigar.
It's a dick, obviously.
it's a way to get nicotine into my body, which I have missed very much.
But only sometimes.
Sorry, I can never. Anytime I hear Freud, I always have to say.
Right. I mean, the like field of psychology invented is garbage, but that doesn't mean there was nothing worth valuing.
Anyway, so I think that's a fair overview of the psychographics. Let's hit a commercial break real quick. The commercial break. We're going to come back and we're going to go more into specifics about the psychographics, and we're going to talk about which ones we feel the most connected to. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This week's sponsor is Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Ink, you will find a very inclusive environment with artists that share your interest in nerd culture and fandoms alike. Nuclear Ink prides themselves in being Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. So if you're looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Ink here in Omaha, Nebraska. A link will be in the description down below. We're also sponsored by inkedgaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out inkedgaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They even recently added a stitch option to their playmat and mouse pads as well. Stop those frayed edges from happening. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style, and if you want to get 10% off of your entire order, use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, and help support us by customizing your game to your style. Cards Custom Builds. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, then Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full-blown costumes. Do you want to make a perfectly flowing cloth, or maybe want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. Their work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build on either Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention TCG University to get 5% off your entire order. And lastly, the show is brought to you by Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans to stop their innovations or their drive to refine the products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. The link will be in the description down below.
Oh my god, I have to pee so bad.
All right, perfect.
Oh, good. I thought I was the only one. So
okay, I'll be right back.
You're drinking all this hint.
Yeah, that's not.
Jason, did you watch that video that I sent you?
No, I completely forgot. I am so sorry. I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, how long is it?
It's like 5 to 7 minutes. It's actually super cool. It's I'll just reiterate to anybody who's watching live. It is Sajam, one of the most influential fighting game commentators, reading verbatim the article that Mark talks about, and is like, here's how I can equate fighting game people into Timmy, Johnny, Spike. Timmy's, I just want to play the big fucking dude. So I'm a Zangief player, and I just want to grab you and just throw and just toss you. You've got the Johnnies, which are like the coolest dudes, and they tell you more about your character or more about the frame data than you know, right? Like hey, did you know you could do this or this or this? They're like the lab monsters. And then you've got the Spikes.
They're the people who just want to get that like block combo against like Chun-Li or something like that.
Correct. Yes. And they're like, oh man, you could have done this into this into this, and like it's the same thing. He's saying the same thing, but it like relates it in just a tiny offshoot of our reality or of our world because of card games versus fighting games. It's so interesting.
Which I feel like Spike players are people who like played Fox in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, right.
This is the most technical character. This is the best character. I can wave dash better than you. I will prove to you that I'm better at this game.
Correct. Yeah, it's all like, it doesn't matter who it is. I just have to play the best. It doesn't even matter if I'm not having fun clicking the buttons. The journey is not what's exciting. It's the W at the end. The crown is what matters.
It is worth mentioning that the goal could be different depending on the Spike.
Yeah, that's fair.
The goal might be, I want to top 8 with this weird thing that I made.
True. I met
like
a
Johnny
Spike
mix.
I met a Spike player that was I kind of saw them as a Spike. They were an expert Mario player in Smash Brothers, and it was just to beat everyone with Mario, like the best, the Nintendo character.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Spikes can also be bad.
I want to actually bring that up in the show. Yeah. The idea that sometimes the good players are Spikes is not necessarily true. Brian Kibler's love of dragons is not a spiky love of dragons. It is a Timmy-esque love of dragons.
Yeah, I don't think Kibler's a Spike.
So yeah, just because you're this is good stuff. Let's get. I just want to get the show back on the road. This is all good stuff.
Cool.
I want to make sure Dave. Well, I want to make sure Dave's good, and I'll count us back in. Dave, are you good for us to launch back in? We keep talking about shit that's good to talk about in the actual show.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to count us in. We're going to be back. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. So we are going to keep talking about Psychographics, and we're going to move a little more in depth. And one of the things I think we illustrated quite nicely is in our example, one of our example cards, Final Fortune. everyone uses an example. Well, so JC used an example of a Timmy card. Dave explained how it can be a Johnny card, and a Spike would be generally quite willing to run that card if it is going to be good and win tournaments. So sometimes those. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I know at least one instance where that could be used as a Spike example. You're playing Legacy, and you have a Cunning Wish sideboard.
Oh yeah. No,
it'd probably be closer to like a Burning Wish sideboard and just use Last Chance instead. But
yeah, those, even if I don't know if I can't speak to Final Fortune's tournament playability, but similar take an extra turn and then lose effects have been seen in tournament Magic. And so the traditional I'm here to win the tournament Spike is quite willing to use whatever card it's going to take to win said tournament, be it flashy, be it a combo piece. And I think it's also something we were getting at a little bit is generally people aren't just one thing or one of these. And so a lot of times people will take various things from each of the Psychographics. Players will be too comfortably, maybe. Players will change over time. And something that that Lily mentioned too, that Mark Rosewater gets into quite a bit, is having the Psychographics has been helpful to them in designing because they can make cards for certain groups. And so not every card is for every person. And so when they make a card, they might go, this is a Timmy card. They might go, this is a Johnny card. We are giving like a current example. It's like the Ozolith. That's a Johnny card right there. What are you going to do with this card?
That fucking card.
Can I talk about what I did when we get to the Johnny section?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just saying, they'll make that card, but then they'll also make cards that are just that everybody wants, that are appealing to everybody. They're effective at what the Spike wants to be doing. They help the Johnny player do something crazy or interactive, and the effect might be absolutely just mind-bogglingly awesome. And so it's not like you are one of the. We aren't playing Hogwarts rules. You aren't sorted into one of these, and then your life
for immutable groups.
I would like to point out too that I feel like there is a notion, like for instance, that Timmys are rookies and bad players. That kind of comes about sometimes, and I do not believe that is true. And I would like to have my cohorts here echo that is not true.
No, absolutely. And I said very briefly in the commercial break that Brian Kibler's love of dragons does not come off as a spiky player. You can be good and love something because it's awesome.
Do you mean Brian Kibler, the Dragon Master?
Yeah. And
I wonder why they call him that. It's weird.
So
there's no reason. It's completely randomized.
You can be a Timmy and be really good at this game. And I also this might be its own topic or maybe not. I don't know. I wanted to bring it up, but there is a certain amount of disdain in the community, or a lot of times new players will kind of gravitate towards those Timmy cards because if you're coming into Magic and you don't know how it all works, and the interaction might be confusing, you generally find something you connect with, be it big dinosaurs or a big angel or a big burn spell as a very flashy effect. That's how you pull people into Magic. So while a lot of times new players will kind of come in a Timmy aspect and maybe grow out of it or grow into other things, I think that's, instead of growing out, growing into it is true. It doesn't make you bad. And if I've been playing for 20 years, and I still love Chandra cards. I like the Pyromancer. I like those effects. I like that stuff. So like, you could stay a Timmy and still be good. And I want to just throw it out there. I think part of this is we're partially blaming this on Rudy. Rudy. Because
I wasn't gonna Rudy any names, but you might have a thing going on there.
Yeah, let's not put I don't want to get on it.
I'm just saying his insistence on using the name Timmy for his I'm going to explain something to you like you're a dumb idiot. Okay, so we've got the Timmys over here doing this. Has not helped.
A regional aspect too.
It could be. I don't think he's. I mean, it's. There's a lot of things there. I don't think it has helped the general Magic community's. I don't know. Disdain isn't the right word, but condescension, I think, might be the right word.
So when you close your eyes and you think of what a Timmy looks like, someone with the name Timmy, most of the time you're not going to think of a full-grown man. You're just not. You're going to think of a child.
Right.
At least that's what I think of when I close my eyes and think of Timmy.
Because
similarly for Tammy, you think of Tammy as an 8-year-old girl.
I think of Tammy as a hairdresser, but that's because I had a hairdresser at a certain point named Tammy, so that's probably why.
Yeah, likewise.
I think that's a reality too, just because generally adults. So I've met a couple adults who go by, let's say, like Billy, but generally adults will go by Bill or Will.
Right. Yeah.
So Tim or Timothy, generally, yeah. I've known Timmys. And then when they get older, it's Tim. And so I think that might be part of it. I think the name just might have some baggage. But I would add, JC, I absolutely have your back on this. Just because you like a certain thing or appeal to a big splashy effect doesn't mean you are not good at this game, doesn't dilute or degrade anything. And like, that's the thing. If you are having fun, we need to make sure at the end of the day that we are getting something out of playing this game, be it engagement, be it fun. If you aren't having a good time, why are you playing this game? If you aren't getting something positive out of this game. And so if you come into it and you got to play with big dumb dinosaurs and do big crazy dinosaur effects, that's great. Sorry.
Feeling kind of called out there.
Another thing that's important to note, that's important to kind of be aware of here too, for a long time, the kind of cards that Timmy likes were not given much attention by Wizards.
And they weren't good.
They were not pushed to a point where they were playable, and the play styles that Timmy's lend themselves to. Burn was the closest one that was really like viable. And it was viable, but like the big stompy mid-range decks weren't a thing 15 years ago. Kind of 10 years ago is when they started showing up.
No, I think Burn you can almost even argue that Burn is oftentimes a Spike or even a Johnny deck too. Right. Because Johnny, you might be putting all the pieces together, and Spike, what's going to get them dead the fastest?
I think Grim Lavamancer seems like a very Johnny card, but I wouldn't. Burn is it's too linear.
I mean, and I think that's
if I play a certain amount of lava axes.
That is technically true, but uninspired.
I'm sorry, but 7 lightning bolts is a combo. It is a combo that reduces your life total from 20 to not 20.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is, like, for a long time, being someone who cared about the kind of cards that Timmy cares about and being a good Magic player were mutually exclusive. And that's not the player's fault.
No, that's Timmy. Each of these Psychographics has a card from the unset, and so Timmy Power Gamer's flavor text references. You just wait till I get my Leviathan. Leviathan is a terrible Magic card.
Yeah, that was back when they thought big creatures needed drawback.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, but I guess the point I'm making is that like the culture of the game has developed around Timmy's not being good, or the idea of Timmy's not being good being a thing in the zeitgeist.
No, and nowadays we get every now and then the mono green stompy deck will turn out into the standard deck. I think Galta, I played a lot of Galta in multiple formats. Having a 12/12 with trample cost 2 mana is generally not bad. So like, it's nice, and I appreciate that Wizards, like, I wish, like, high school Brett liked Magic. Adult Brett loves Magic. If I could show myself the cards I have now, I would be so thrilled. It's like, you know those green cards that have a thing that's not even called hexproof yet? Yeah, they make good ones of those now.
Remember Troll Shroud? We have a word for it now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and like Planeswalkers, if you could have shown me, like, look at what Planeswalkers do, I would have been like, oh, it's like a character? That's awesome. I can connect with this person. So like, no, back in my day when I started, there was combo, there was combo, there was aggro, there was control. And if you tried to just play big creatures, you were going to get them board wiped, you're going to get them removed, or you're going to get comboed out.
Midrange didn't exist.
You have to sacrifice a creature to Lord of the Pit. That's you got to make sure you deal with that. Force of Nature, you have to sacrifice. Sorry, you have to bury or destroy.
I think bury. I think you had to bury.
It was. I'm thinking of the portal card, Force of Nature. I think. But like those big creatures, they all had drawbacks. You had to do something. You had to pay a stupid high mana cost, and you had to deal with their drawback. And like, look at it like this, right? Jizumjin was a powerhouse. It was a control finisher. It was probably the best.
Sorry, what?
Printed. Jizumjin? Did I mispronounce that? Jizum?
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I know what card you're talking about. Yeah. I just
I've always heard it was Jizumjin.
I think you're right. I think you're either right or you're close.
I'm like I cannot say that I know. I'm not sure. I know that I'm saying
fine. So it was the lewd. No, keep going.
So Jizumjin used to be the best creature ever printed, right? 4 mana for a 5/5, and it had a drawback. Now, Dreadbridge Goliath, I think was the name of it. We had a 5/5 for 4 with upside and Return to Ravnica, and that card was unplayable.
Oh yeah,
that's how we've kind of gone from big creatures back in the olden days that they have to have a drawback because we can't make the big creatures too good.
We have a 6/6 with flying trample for 5 with additional upside in standard, and it's not seeing play.
Yeah, and it's still unplayable. It's still not good. So that's
Wizards, and I'm thrilled that Wizards has made those changes, because spikes and Johnnies are a little easier to serve, because the spike will generally, there might be a specific kind of spike, but a spike will generally gravitate towards something that works. They'll take the pieces that are there. The Johnny will take what's there and use it. The Timmy will do what brings them joy to the detriment, whether or not they win or lose. And I think that's also important too, because I think it's important for people to find way. If you only ever have fun when you win, that's not a great world to live in, even if you're a spike, because if you only have time to have fun when you're winning, odds are you're only having fun half the time. And you should be working on that. And I think there's ways, like a spike, even if you lose, look at why you lost. Look at how that game went. Look at all of those things. This is an annoying spiky thing I do. And I think we're getting closer to the end. So I am a Timmy spike. I like the big, showy, stupid stuff. But I also like the game. I like knowing what I did right. And so I have a very annoying habit that I try not to do, is if I'm watching Ray or Kat play Arena, sometimes I'll be like, I will feel called like, ooh, you could do this, or oh, you missed that, or oh, if you would have tapped this like this, you could have done this, which sometimes if people want that is helpful. If people don't want it, it comes off as very douchey. So I do try to monitor that, but I'm always just, I see that and I'm excited about it. And it's not like, oh, let me show you how smart I am. It's let's talk about all the intricacies, and let's make sure we're making every turn get every inch of value so we can do this crazy stuff. That is what I love. And so there's the Timmy side of things and there's the spike side of things. So that's kind of where I find myself. Now, there's certainly times where I've put the weird combo together. I am not free from the Johnny Jenny, the tug of that, or that allure, but I feel comfortable saying I'm a Timmy spike. That is how I interact with and enjoy the game.
No, that's fair.
JC.
Sorry, Jason.
Okay, go ahead. I just wanted somebody else to go.
Oh.
So if you want to go, or Jason wants to go.
I would say, as like, so I don't know if this is anomalous. I've always been a Johnny, like my entire Magic career. Like the first card that really like made me go, oh, was Iname Death Aspect. Which is a 4/4 for double black and 4 with no abilities, I don't think. That when it enters the battlefield, search the library for any number of spirits and put them in your graveyard. That's the whole card.
And that is a card that demands other things to interact with it.
Right. And I had this deck that I had together for so long. It was one of my first decks that was just this like mono black spirit deck that just had that and then a Revenant, which is like a 4/1 black flying power and toughness equal number of creatures in your graveyard. I'm just like, and it was just that was the whole deck. I'm going to play this and put all my spirits in the graveyard, and then I'm going to get value out of that. And I don't know. I've never looked back. Like I've always been a Johnny, and I feel like that is the psychographic that has seen the least amount of cards aimed directly at it in modern game design for Magic.
That's really interesting.
It's hard to not break the game in half, because it's hard to appeal to the people whose goal is to break the game in half.
It's true.
That's fair. No, yeah, that's the.
I feel like all you have to do is print cards to have the people who want to break the game in half break the game in half.
Right, but like being able to find love is not the same as somebody acting in your interest.
That's fair. I want to talk about this more in the post show, maybe, because that's interesting. But I don't want to get too sidetracked. JC, where do you come down on the psychographics?
Oh, I don't know. I think I get a little all three-ish sometimes. So I do like big flashy creatures like Zakama, but I also tend to build a lot of theme decks. Like I am the type of person that I'm going to build a cat deck just to see if I can win with cats. I'm also the type of person that like my favorite type thing to do is have Marauding Raptor and Polyraptor out so I can end the game in a tie. Because that's really winning. So like
that's the best win.
So I kind of think I do a little bit of like all of them a little bit. I like doing specific things that prove I did a really smart and cool thing and I proved a point. I like doing things that are very thematic and expressive of myself. I like, so for instance, I will build a deck where all the creatures in it have to have feathers. Like, that's like a thing, you know, like, so I use it as like self-expression. And I also do things like I want to play Zakima because it's a big, huge, pretty girl who's going to destroy everything.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Dave, where do you... Oh, go ahead, Lily.
What if I told you there's a Timmy card that ends the game in a draw?
Oh, don't. We don't need this.
Show.
What is it called? I hate that card.
Divine Intervention.
Divine. We don't need Divine Intervention in our lives.
I feel like that card should be banned.
I have one. Do you want it, JC?
Yeah, I do. I do like proving like everybody's a winner by everyone losing.
The Spike in me is disgusted by that. No, we are not all a winner. There is a winner and there is losers, and I will make it clear who is who.
This is a zero-sum game, but if this answers your question at least, and I hope it does, there was a point in my life where I used to go to SCG Opens regularly to play Legacy, and one of the things that I joked about doing was, if I ever got into the top 8, wouldn't it be great if I had a one-of copy of Divine Intervention in my sideboard, so that I could board into that on a camera match that was untimed and continually casting that, as well as double time stretch or Beacon of Tomorrows, in order to take multiple turns in a row to have that go off, only to shuffle again. Like, do that against a matchup that has no conceivable way to beat the show and tell Dreamwolf.
That's amazing.
Until WotC decided, you know what? Maybe this card doesn't add anything to the game. Maybe this card shouldn't be legal. So, you just let me know where you think I fall on the spectrum having those thoughts.
Dave, my heart.
Amazing.
I have no idea which one you are, other than something that needs to be contained.
I don't know. So I here's my argument for how that's spiky. It really is that, like, I'm going to do this thing to prove that this thing can be done, and I'm going to do it specifically in this scenario, because boom, it is like spiking the damn football.
Like, it's possible that I just learned the psychographics differently than everybody else did. And I always thought that the idea of wanting attention, wanting to be known for being creative and smart and all that was more of a Johnny attribute. Like, you want to play this sweet combo deck to show people how cool you are, and look at what I thought of, look what I was able to pull off. And spikes were more of a, it doesn't matter if it's pretty or not, I want to win. It doesn't matter how you get a win's a win. So you get into, like, some of the more, like, not very great character traits of rules lawyering and things like that generally are frowned upon, that people aren't big fans of. Whereas with Johnny's, you're like, look at my 20-part combo I managed to get off, and I did it 2 times in the match. Isn't that great?
You know, I agree with that assessment, but Dave, nobody knows the rules better than the people that want to break them.
To some extent, yeah. It's like, I mean, I could talk some mad shit on people like Mike Long, but at the same time, we have rules in place now because of people like Mike Long, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Was he a scumbag? You bet. And now we know that foils can warp and you can absolutely cheat with them.
So have we confirmed that wanting to combo out or end the game in an infinite loop is a Johnny thing, and Spikes will play that combo if it is the best combo and it will win them?
Yeah. I think, like, if it's something like Crank Clan Ironworks and it consistently goes off to win, for sure.
Yeah, I think, why are you running the combo? Because the combo appeals to you, or because the combo is going to get you what you want? I think is a good way to kind of differentiate when the Johnny's using the combo and the Spike's using the combo. And I think everything you said, Dave, rings of both Spikeness and of Johnniness. Because the desire to prove something is something that Morrow goes into in depth on. Because I think there's the more traditional in the I think a lot of us, probably all of us, learned the psychographics much earlier in our careers. And I don't know if it's from a lack of understanding, or we didn't all used to read articles all the time from Morrow, or if Morrow's maybe expanded them out. Maybe it's fair, but maybe I don't. It's probably some of both. I think the psychographics have probably matured some, because there's certainly there's the standard understanding of what they are, and then the more nuanced understanding, and the understanding that's like what Morrow will go into the in depth of. Because if you tell if you ask someone who's tangentially aware, Timmy likes big creatures, Johnny wants to combo, Spike wants to win. And while those things aren't untrue, I think it's fair to say there's more to it. So everything that you pitched to me, Dave, seems both spiky and Johnny.
There's a very good chance we just ended up with a game of telephone operator, where somebody that actually read these articles and understands it much better, telling it to someone else who told it to someone else who told it to me. Mm-hmm. So, like, there are a few people in between me and the actual source. I'm sure that's the case.
And I'm sure that's the case for a huge amount of the Magic community. Not everyone is on... Most people who play Magic do not read everything that Morrow writes every week on every blog post. So I think it's important when you talk about the Psychographics to make it clear that Morrow has expanded them and there is more to them. But they understand, if everyone thinks one thing, I think we have to acknowledge it too. So I think there's a lot of nuance to it as well. And I was so interesting to learn, I think we talked about it a little bit in the last post show and during the commercial break, that somebody from the fighting game community has kind of broken this down into fighting games. So like in many things Magic, you can use what we take here from the color pie or from mechanics or from psychographics and apply them to games and to life. Because I also think it's important to, like, just because, like, just like Timmy's dumb and likes this, or Johnny's just, I mean, you can look at the negative sides. Timmy's immature and wants the simple thing. Johnny wants to do this old crazy thing for the sake of doing the crazy thing. And Spike's just, out to win no matter what. But you can look at the positive sides and how you engage with things in your life. Timmy finds the passion and joy in their things. Johnny wants to make something beautiful. And Spike knows what they want. If Spike knowing what you want, why are you doing this? What are you trying to prove, and to who are you trying to prove it? Trying to prove something's not inherently bad. If you're trying to prove something to yourself or the people in your life, that's okay. You're not a bad person for wanting to do that. And so I just think there's, you made a face, Lily.
I don't know. I feel like I push the limits of wanting to prove something isn't like wanting to. I don't know.
If I may put it this way, I think there might be an element of whoa to like Tammy's, and like an element of like nice to like Johnny's, and an element of like yes to Spike's. And I think you should have all of those in your life.
Yeah,
well, I like that, JC.
And thank you for turning it into memes. I feel like everything I was saying was like wrapping up like a 90s sitcom. The moral of this, so thank you.
Danny Tanner, you need to chill out.
Say again, Dave.
I called you Danny Tanner. The father from Full House, played by potty mouth Bob Saget.
His stand-up is raunchy.
He is a potty mouth. That is...
His character on Entourage was hilarious, but Entourage...
He played himself, didn't he?
He played himself, He played his actual self.
Bob Saget podcast.
Bob Saget fan pod. Anyway, okay. Any final thoughts? So there's a lot to the Psychographics, and hopefully we've achieved... I think JC brought up that there are people who listen to this show that they get most, if not all, of their Magic stuff, which, if so, awesome. That's so cool that you listen to the show. Thank you.
Hey, but that's a lot of pressure.
It is, and I'm glad we took the time to go into this, because this is Magic lingo. This is something that once you're in the community, this is we're going to say, oh, this is a Timmy card, and move on. We're going to say, oh, that was really spiky of them, and move on. So I'm glad that we, after a lot of episodes, we probably should have done this sooner, but I'm glad that we finally got the time to like lay this out and kind of go into details. And hopefully we've, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this, we've made this clear, or clearer. And this, ideally, this is a way for you to help. And understanding this not only helps you just be able to communicate with everybody, but it helps you understand why you're playing the game. And I think we should all be asking ourselves, why are we doing this?
Also, we're going to have the aforementioned fighting game version of these psychographics as some context for maybe something that a listener is more familiar with, or even if you're just Magic focused and don't know that, just another perspective. It's going to be in the comments on the video. So.
And I guess in keeping with the theme from the last two, let's go ahead and have a quick call to action for our comments section. Post down below. What do you think you are, and what's the most of that you've ever done? Are you Timmy? What's the biggest Timmy thing you've ever done? What's the biggest Johnny thing you've ever done? Bonus points if you can get all three in the same comment.
Or the same action.
Or if you
can I keep pointing towards your window. It's probably different for everyone.
It is. You're pointing towards nothing on my screen.
Oh, fantastic.
I would actually love to see some posts about what you feel like you do in fighting games as well. That is another passion of mine. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, if fighting games or these psychographics fit into any of your hobbies or entertainment, let us know. I think it's a great tool to help us talk about why we love the things we love. So anything before we move on to the post show? Okay. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We're going to keep talking some Magic things and some weird stuff in the post show. So if you want to check that out, that's $1 a month on the Patreon. You get to see that. You can watch it live and comment and bug us if you want, or it allows you to look at it on the Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Go play M21. Next week, we'll be talking probably about that and whatever else pops up in the news, because it's been a hell of a news month. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Stay safe out there, and remember who you are.